G'day guys and welcome back to Footy Talk, your dose of all the latest news, interviews and analysis in the world of AFL footy. I am Abbey Holmes and as always on a Monday, a massive show to get through. There was so many big news stories and hot topics coming out of round 17, and to break it all down with me on this glorious Monday morning, David Zaharakis, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Abbey. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. What happened on the weekend? Because
weekend
round 17, those that we thought should win, they lost. Those that thought we were going to lose, they won. This season, this competition is wide open.
I read something yesterday. It's a great weekend when Collingwood, Carlton and Sydney on top lose. That is a great weekend. And Essendon obviously win. So it's that was coming from an Essendon supporter.
Of course.
But it was an unbelievable weekend of footy, some great games. Wouldn't really say upsets, but
there was some
big
upsets.
Results. Upsets, yeah, but Sydney obviously lost the week before, had to respond. They didn't. St Kilda, that is a little bit of an upset. GWS beating Carlton, I don't think is as big an upset as what people think. They're capable of playing some great footy, which they proved on the weekend. I think more of the upset in that game was that Carlton were up by 39 points, and we'll talk about that. But, some amazing results and some people climbing up the ladder. Yeah. Brisbane are now 7th on the ladder. Interesting. They're scaring a few teams, I think.
And the Cats into 5th as well. But one of those upsets that we will get to is North Melbourne rolling the Gold Coast Suns. But we're going to kick off with your Bombers all the way back on Friday night. It feels like an eternity ago. But a 2-goal win against Collingwood. 80+ thousand at the G. There was so much pressure on the Bombers coming in. Are they contenders? Are they pretenders? Who have they beaten across the competition so far? They've had a pretty soft draw. Rah, rah, rah. The conversations go on. But that win, crucial in the context of their season.
It was crucial. And I actually put a comment on the Essendon page after the game saying, I hope by the end of the round we haven't beaten a top 8 side still. And Collingwood did slip out. So we technically haven't. But then I think GWS early in the year we did. So, but I can be honest, I was pretty nervous 15 minutes into the first quarter. Yeah. Collingwood got a massive jump on us. Crisp kicked 3 goals in 3 minutes. And
incredible. We
looked off early, scored some stoppages. That's where they were getting their source from and out of the centre bounce. And we looked off. We didn't look like we came to play. And I'm not sure what the messaging was. I heard Xavier Dersmer on the radio on Saturday that said Brad Scott was quite calm at quarter time about the way they were playing and that they really responded to that, the boys, that it didn't come in and give them a massive spray. It was calm about, all right, this is how we're playing. This is how we want to play in the next 3 quarters. And for me, I felt Essendon then after that for 2.5 quarters absolutely dominated the game. Watching it with a lot of past players at the game on Friday night, we were all pretty calm after that because the way they played was they dominated inside 50. They dominated territory. Collingwood could not get their game moving, and Essendon was set up really well defensively. And if they can do that moving forward, the way they were playing, teams will struggle to score against them. And then, I was excited by the young fella, Nate Caddy. I said this earlier in the year, I think he can really be something special. The way he launches at the footy, he's exciting fans, and pretty disappointed that Scotty didn't play him last week. But now I hope that he just gets a run of games in the AFL where he launches at the footy. Yes, he's kicking, he can work on, but the way he presents down forward, he makes our forward line dynamic with him and Jake Stringer down there. Harry Jones playing on the wing, but also playing forward. So our forward line looks a lot more dynamic with those guys down there.
I want to touch on that forward line. I mean, Nate Caddy getting subbed out as well is a bit flat for him, but just protect the young fella. 1 goal, 3. He had the opportunity to kick a bag, 6 marks. As you said, just flying at the footy, looks like a real player for the Bombers for many years to come. But even the Langford-Stringer combination is now combined for 65 goals for the year. They've both kicked over 30. Peter Wright popped up with 2. They had a spread of 11 different goal kickers across the board. Just the options. Now, they're not relying on 1, 2, even 3 to pop up. They know that they've got multiple avenues to goal.
Yeah, and it was a good response from Langers. He's had a quiet probably month from his standards over the last 18 months. So good response from him, having a good game, kicking the 2 goals too and having 15 disposals. But I think you're right. I think our forward line, if it's just Peter Wright, is too static and too righty-centric, where we just kind of bomb it long to a big key forward target there. But with the likes of Langers, Jakey Stringer, Harry Jones, as I said, going up and down the ground, and then Nate Caddy coming in, it can really work on the forward line being dynamic, and you've got a couple coming up at the kicker, but then a lot going out the back, and a few on the weekend where we turn the ball over in the front half. they just slingshot footy, and Nate Caddy was going back towards goal, and Jake String was going back towards goal. And I think having that dynamic structure up forward really helps our ball movement. We're not just a lead up big target forward with one forward presence.
Let's touch on the midfield as well. Dylan Shiel was back for his first full game of the year. He was the sub, of course, in round 10, played about 5 or 6 minutes in that game. But he came back in with a bang, 26 disposals, 6 clearances, 8 tackles. I think everybody's rapt to see him back and to have a performance like that. Sammy Durham. His job is one of the toughest tasks in football, trying to tag Nick Dacos, who had 31 disposals, but he ran it at about 42% efficiency.
It was an off 31, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. So he still accumulates a lot of the footy. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But he was able to really affect Nick Dacos' usage with the ball in hand. But the likes of Sam Durham, Jai Caldwell as well, he had 30 disposals and a goal, same as his captain in Zach Merrett. But this midfield group, it's starting to build. You've got the young, more experienced heads in there, but these kids are now stepping up to the plate too.
And you've still got Darcy Parish to come back too. So that's what I love this year is the depth of Essendon. It's growing. Now we've got guys who can come in if people are out of form or injured. But the first one there, Sheely, he's been out for so long and, like you said, played only 5 or 6 minutes earlier in the year. So he started a little bit slow in the game, but have 12 possessions in that crucial last quarter was unbelievable for him. Great to see him get a game and work his way into the game to then be a really good player, an important player for us, especially in that last quarter. Sammy Durham, he's hard as a cut snake. He's unbelievable, Seymour boy. And his rise from Richmond VFL, local footy, Richmond VFL, and then now a mainstay and a great player in our side has been unbelievable. It's a great story, but he's someone that you can just put a role to. He'll play it. He loves just playing team footy, getting around the boys, and that's why he's so important. He doesn't want it. He doesn't want the big lights, and he just wants to play footy on the weekend, and that's why he's so good for us. Jai, for me, is one of the most improved players in the AFL. I didn't think he was capable of playing this level. I thought his ceiling was a little bit lower, I'll be honest, but the way he's improved his game out of sight, and he's kicking goals for us, kicking crucial goals, and winning the ball out of the midfield, unbelievable. Let's talk about captain for a little bit. Zach Merrett, and it frustrates me that people are like now going, Zach Merrett could be All-Australian captain. He's a pretty good player in the AFL, whatever. He was All-Australian 7 years ago in, I think, 2017. He's won 4 best and fairest, and he's been this level of a player now for 7 to 8 years in the AFL. And I don't even know the word, but I can't believe that people don't consider him to be in the top 5 or 10 players in the AFL. When they talk about the likes of Bontempelli or Nick Dacos or whoever they talk about, Zach Merrett's never really in that first conversation of thought. And if you go back and look at his last 7 years of football, it is up there with the best in the AFL.
I think it's the case of him not being, he's not a showman. He's not fluffy. He doesn't,
He just wants to play footy.
He just plays hard-nosed, contested, like inside, outside, it doesn't matter. He'll just get it done.
Yep. And he doesn't want to do all the advertising, the marketing outside of footy. He's just the captain that wants to. He even said, I think there was a quote last week, he lives 24/7 football. There was an article, I think, maybe with Cal Toomey or someone. He just lives footy 24/7, and that's it. Everything in his life is based around playing footy. He doesn't want to do anything outside of that. He struggles with all the marketing. I mean, he's got better, but he struggles with all that. But that's probably why we haven't seen him or spoken about him, because he's not in your face. He just does his job every single week. But for me, he is one of the top 5 players in the AFL.
Very quickly, before we move on to another game, where to for the Pies? They find themselves outside the top 8. They're sitting in 9th spot at the moment with the D's. Western Bulldogs 4 points behind them. But this is a precarious position for them to be in. There's only 7 games remaining in the home and away season. You certainly don't want to leave it late, because there are still a number of sides that are vying and really desperate to push into that top 8 position. Yes,
and even on the weekend when they started to make a little comeback, you always worry about at Collingwood, because they do have enough talent, depth, and just will to win in that side that they're always going to make a charge. And they've got a tough couple of games coming up. It's a huge game this week. Geelong on Friday night, and then it backs up with Hawthorn at the G as well, who have got the wood over them the last couple of times, I think. So it's a tough couple of weeks for Collingwood. I hope they don't get desperate and bring in McStay early. There's talk that they might bring him back, and yes, we've had a couple of players come back, Melksham on the weekend and Ashcroft from ACL straight back in.
It's only been 7.5 months.
Exactly, and there's talk. So whether that's just external talk, but I hope they don't get desperate with him and just put him in, because their forward line is obviously depleted massively, and obviously with Mychek going down. So injuries play a part in sides just winning the flag. They're obviously trying to go back-to-back, and they're just maybe creeping up and having a little too many injuries this year for them.
All right, I'm moving on, and I'm going to hit pretty hard on the Gold Coast Suns. I'm with Dimmer, right? Everybody's heard his comments post-game from Saturday, but they butchered a huge opportunity on Saturday. They came in off a really good win at home against the Pies. They were amongst that logjam of sides that were a game out of top 8 contention. They have not won a game on the road. They, of course, have not lost at home, but they're playing at Marvel Stadium. Conditions are perfect. The roof is closed. You're taking on the bottom side in the competition, and they could not get it done. And this is not taking anything away from North Melbourne, because I will touch on them as well afterwards. But from a Gold Coast Suns perspective, that was such a big opportunity for them to take a step.
Yep.
And they butchered it.
It speaks for a soft underbelly at the club. And what I mean by that is that, they can look like they're going to play some great games and maybe get a win on the road and be in it. But really, when the game gets on the line or in the balance, or when they need to win a game, crucial like the weekend where you think it's going to be an easy game, that they don't come to the forefront. It's the past demons come out in you, and that is maybe not winning on the road or potentially for a top 8 spot, and they just miss out on the top 8. Whatever that is, it's a soft underbelly of history that they have in that footy club where players have now played there for a long time. They've got players that have been there for a while. A new coach comes in and he probably sees that soft underbelly there as a footy club that's what all the frustrations came out on the weekend, that he said we need to grow up because of that. That soft underbelly comes out when the pressure's on. They can't get past it. And it's like Essendon with a final over X amount of years. You can't get past it. It's hard. That Geelong comes up and they lose 22 out of 26 games. You can't get past it. And for Gold Coast right now, when they're crucial games on the line that are important in their season, they can't get past them to get a win on the road or to get a win to get in the top 8. So that's that soft underbelly or that growing up that Dimmer talks about that I see from the outside, is that when really they can get past some demons, they just can't.
A few more expletives used there from Damien Hardwick, but we will not repeat them on our potty. But credit to North Melbourne. They defended 18 inside 50s in that fourth quarter. They were under siege, under the pump. Gold Coast Suns were desperate to come back and take the 4 points, but they held strong. And McKercher, what a player. He turned into Boomer Harvey there. Harry Sheasel as well. McKercher had 37 disposals, I might just touch on. Harry Sheasel with 35 and a goal. But their kids, like if you were a North Melbourne supporter, you have been through shit times the last few years. You have. Let's be honest. But when you start seeing these kids coming through, and those two in particular at the top of the disposal count across the entire game, Archer down back, he was sensational as well. But if you're LDU, if you're Jai Simpkin, Larky up forward, they really are starting to build something. And I think that North Melbourne fans should get pretty excited about what's coming through. It
was great seeing them actually hold on for a win. We saw against Melbourne, they were coming, lost and fell short. But then against Collingwood stormed back and won the game. And you kind of thought, they're a side that can be in games, but they just don't know how to win. And obviously on the weekend when Gold Coast were coming hard, they found a way to win. And that's a real growth in a young side when you can just find a way to win. And yes, I can't remember who it was from Gold Coast had a shot to win the game. And you can kind of argue, well, if that kick goes through, we're having a different conversation. But just the fact that they got the 4 points in the end. North Melbourne supporters leave the ground. They've been probably happy over the last month or 6 weeks with the way the side's played, but not the joy of winning. That 10, 15 minutes after the game where you can sing a song and be happy. And North Melbourne fans are, if you're not excited about the future of your North fan, I don't know what you've been watching. Like you said, McKercher, Sheasel, and then thinking or hearing Dave Uniacke wants to stay a North player. You are buoyant. Yes, you're on the bottom of the ladder or second last still, but geez, you're looking to the future thinking this style of football under Clarko holds up. Yes, it's probably going to evolve over the next couple of years, but we can really start winning some games of footy and be excited to actually go to the game.
Well, you just touched on it, but North Melbourne fans left with the joy of 2 big wins on the weekend. They got the 4 points against the Gold Coast Suns, but they are off the bottom of the ladder.
Yes.
So Richmond now sit in 18th position. So that's another big win for North.
Well, I think our own Lee Montagna said North will never be 18th again in the next X amount of years. And I heard they do play Richmond coming up in a few weeks' time. So we'll see if that comment holds true.
What about Sydney and the Saints? The St Kilda Football Club getting it done by 2 points. Swans now back-to-back losses, and Logan McDonald again in the position, a minute to go, had the opportunity to win the game. But after last week, I tell you what I loved. I loved that this is a guy that took a mark and he said, I'm gonna get this done. Yes, it faded left, unfortunately for him, but I loved the confidence that he had just to take the mark, a really strong mark on the lead, and go back and say, nah, I'd learnt from last week. I want this position again.
Yeah, I was watching it live, and I mean, he probably had the chance to mark it, turn around a wheel and kick to a one-on-one, because I think there was a one-on-one down the field. So I'm the same as you. I love that he went, well, no, it's a minute to go in the game. I'm going to own it. I'm going to go back. And, geez, I think he struck it sweetly. Like, that was clean contact. Yeah. The ball just faded left. Completely different kick to what he did last week under enormous pressure. So you can tell he relaxed more into it. And I said, yes, he missed the goal. But good on him for having the confidence, especially, like I said, he could have just wheeled and gone, nah, this is someone else's issue further down the field. But credit to St Kilda, the way they played in that game, the pressure was unbelievable. And we know that comes with St Kilda. But the way they wanted to slingshot and move the ball quickly against Sydney yesterday was poles apart to what Ross Lyon usually plays like. So if you're a St Kilda fan, you're probably going away from that game going, why can't we play like this every week offensively? Why can't we attack quickly off sides when we turn the ball over rather than just kick long to contests during games? Because, yes, the way they play is probably unsustainable for 4 quarters, the way they defend so hard and rush the contest but then try and attack off that. But at least during patches in games, we can see them. Well, as a fan, you can go, well, we can see them just attack quickly off sides and we can score quickly.
Yeah. How funny was it? Rowan Marshall thought he had sealed the game and that bounce did him dirty, didn't it?
It did, but they had one in the first quarter that went at right angles where they got a goal. So that was a bit of an even up on that regard.
From a St Kilda and Fremantle perspective, though, Sydney 6 weeks ago were that far ahead of any other side in the competition, but they have shown that if you can take away Sydney's uncontested game, really apply the heat, apply the pressure, don't allow them to take those uncontested marks, then that's where you can potentially flip the script. Yeah,
they've laid the blueprint for how you beat Sydney. And, I mean, the game can be very simple sometimes. It is just about pressure and pressure in the contest. And when the likes of Heeney, Goulden, Warner don't have free space and free reign, they're just as... They're just AFL players like everyone else under pressure that they can stuff up a kick or stuff up a handball, and St Kilda just sweated on that. And so did Freo last week. So sides playing against Carlton, Sydney, sides at the top of the ladder, you do have to put pressure on them for 4 quarters of footy. But when you do, you're a chance to win.
Yeah, many would say that the Swans kicked themselves out of that game as well. So it was 9 goals 2 to 3 goals 11 after half time. So credit to St Kilda there. It would be remiss of us not to touch on the Isaac Heeney incident because he is one of the favourites, of course, for the Brownlow medal. It, for me, just looked like a little bit of a rogue swinging arm to try and get some space off Webster. But ultimately, Webster had a blood nose. What's your take on the incident itself?
It's interesting. There were 2 very similar incidents on the weekend. Yeah. So Zach Thatcher on the weekend with Norton, and Norton actually got subbed out of that game. Concussion. So those 2 were very similar, which we haven't seen for a long time.
But no one's talking about the Zerk Thatcher one.
No, exactly. And I thought the same thing. I thought maybe the Brandon Zerk Thatcher one looked even more like an accident where he didn't. Whereas the Heeney one was an accident. He obviously didn't mean to hit him. You can see he turned around straight away and went, oh.
Yeah, he kind of checked on him.
Yeah, so he clearly wanted to hit him in the chest or hit his arm. But this day and age in the AFL, even if your intent wasn't to hit your opponent in the face, he did. And I guess he's got to face the consequences potentially of how they see it. Do they see it as, all right, that's unintentional, but its impact was medium to high? I mean, he had a blood nose. So whether they see it as that or it was just a pure football incident, an accident. But as I said, the same thing was with the Zerk Thatcher, and they're not talking about that. So I think they would have to probably weigh him up both the same. But Heeney could be an asterisk next to his name.
Yeah, you reckon?
So for me, I don't think it should be done. I don't think he should get a week.
Yes.
He was purely just going back.
Fine, if anything.
Yeah, I think a fine, which obviously you're still eligible for the Brownlow.
Yes.
No?
Yeah. But
yes,
that's where I want to go, and that's where all of the conversation is heading next. Is the Brownlow medal? It is, of course, the highest individual honour in the game, best and fairest. The AFL is so firm on the fairest aspect to this. But if Isaac Heeney gets rubbed out for a week here, do you honestly feel as though he should be ineligible to win that highest honour?
I wouldn't want to see someone lose the Brownlow because of an incident like that.
Like that, 100%.
Now, someone will be like, well, there's all other incidents happen throughout the year. That what if he hits someone with a fend-off, elbow to the face, gets wet, or whatever it is. There can be so many grey area with acts, right? But this act in particular, if we get to the end of the year and he wins a Brownlow by 1 vote and doesn't win it because of this, I'll be gutted, and I think it'd be an injustice to the way his season is, because he didn't intentionally do anything. I don't believe he just wanted to fend off and get in front of a lead and get a set shot. So, it's a tough one, because then all of a sudden you start going, well, there's this incident during the year. But just something like this, if a player lost a Brownlow because of it, geez, it wouldn't be great.
There has to be a little bit more malice behind it, doesn't there?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes. All
right, what about Melbourne? They were impressive yesterday, 54-point winners against the West Coast Eagles. Jacob Van Rooyen, he was sensational, equal career best, 4 goals for. He didn't want a career best. He had so many opportunities to kick 5. Colton Tholstrup as well, 2 WA boys there. Always nice to play well against.
He was exciting early.
Oh, yeah, he kicked the opening 2 goals of the game. Trent Rivers in that midfield. I love what he's doing in the absence of Christian Petrarca, and we are going to talk about track because unfortunately over the weekend he was admitted to emergency with some severe pain through his abdomen. He had appendicitis, went in for surgery, had his appendix removed, but this guy cannot catch a break at the moment.
He cannot catch a break.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, got a bit emotional. We talk about him then. No, he cannot catch a break at all. And we're laughing just because
not about that.
Not about that.
Zach just burped.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, he can't take a trick. I'm no doctor, but is it related to his body obviously going through so much in the last couple of weeks, and then he cops this, or is it just a coincidence? But anyway, him having to go through all this medical and in and out of hospital, you feel for the guy.
Yeah.
He's been through so much in this, but. Yeah, I mean, they already stated he's not playing footy again this year. Hopefully he can get himself up and right and just healthy in general. And then footy's an afterthought of, all right, am I going to try and come back and play footy next year or whatever it is? But hopefully, as I said, his body's been through a lot. Hopefully he can recover fully and he can be healthy again soon. On that point, though, about Melbourne, mature win yesterday is how I would describe it. They did what they needed to do. Home game at the G, win by 50-odd points, sets them up to a big clash this week on a Saturday night at the MCG with Essendon. So they did what they needed to do. A few players found a bit of form. When obviously playing against a side that's lower, you want to get a bit of form and a bit of maturity in that side. So they did what they needed to do and they can move on.
Equal on points as well. So GWS Giants in 8th, Collingwood in 9th, Melbourne in 10th, all equal on 36 points. But I want to touch on Harley Reid, and I'm sorry because I know that we speak about this young kid. I do. A very big fan of Harley Reid, but I was there in person on the boundary for Triple M yesterday, watching him live for the very first time, his first game at the MCG as well. But this is a kid who's just turned 19 a few months ago, but he's got 15, 16, however many years remaining in his career. Is this a kid that's just going to cop it? Is just going to get targeted week in, week out because of how good he is? And as a young kid coming through, knowing that that's going to happen, it's really challenging. I mean, credit to Melbourne. And Jacob Van Rooyen spoke to us post-game for Triple M saying that they spoke about him as a team because he absolutely tore them to shreds over in round 10 at Optus Stadium. He had 21 touches, kicked a couple goals and was a real, I guess, barometer for the West Coast Eagles in that game. But so they targeted him. Everyone did. Not just Jack Viney, not just some players here and there. It was the entire team. So for a 19-year-old kid, how do you best kind of navigate this?
I mean, it's challenging. And he's going to get targeted from opposition teams. He's going to get targeted from the media. He's going to get scrutinised in every possible thing. And we've spoken about it a lot. But on field, he's certainly going to get targeted because he's going to be one of the best players in the AFL, like Nick Dacos, for the next 10 to 15 years. And he's a big kid. You can tell he loves playing footy. He kind of invites it too because he loves the physical side of the game. So that's what I like about him, Harley Reid, that he knows it's probably going to be coming, but he actually enjoys, you can see, enjoys physical contact out there, whereas some players, and myself included, when I got tagged out there, someone comes and puts the arm across you every week.
Have a listen to you. I got tagged.
No, but I'm saying I didn't necessarily like it or deal with it that well.
When I got tagged.
Yeah, you wouldn't have never got tagged.
I was a full forward, mate. I just kicked goals, kicked bags.
But I certainly didn't enjoy it when a player came and put their arm across, and I was like, oh, well, here we go. It's going to be physical all day, and you can't run around and do your own thing. So I think he invites it, he enjoys it out there, and he would embrace it. So I don't think it's going to be as big impact on him as what it would be for other players in the AFL, purely for the fact that, it looks like he enjoys it. But it could wear you down over a full season because he might get targeted every week. But, it's going to be a challenge for him. As I said, he certainly looks like he's up for it. But,
I absolutely did have to navigate my way through a tag. I used to have 17 other players hanging off me.
Oh, have a listen to it.
Last one before we wrap up. Let's touch on Carlton and GWS. Carlton heading up there to NG Stadium, of course. They coughed up a 39-point lead in the first quarter to have a 36-point deficit in the fourth quarter. They worked their way back into the game, but that was a game full of swings and roundabouts.
To play such free-flowing footy in that first half with what they did, they look like well-beaters out there. I was watching at home on Saturday night, and they looked impressive in that first half. But then GWS's credit, they completely stopped their run. They owned the ball, controlled the ball for 2.5 quarters, and Carlton could not get their game going whatsoever. And then all of a sudden they looked like a bottom four side out there for 2.5 quarters.
They didn't score a goal in 45 minutes
Yes,
across the second and third quarters.
As I said, it was amazing. They could not move the ball. They couldn't own the ball. They couldn't win the ball from stoppage. GWS owned completely the whole game. And to their credit, they obviously ended up winning the game. And Carlton, so it was a tale of just two halves for Carlton. It was the good and the bad. Now, what's going to show up later in the year and when the game's really on the line for them. But as I said, if you're a Carlton supporter walking away from that or even watching the game, you're going, oh, how good's this halfway through the second quarter? We are. Sydney, watch out. We're coming. We're going to win a flag.
Gorringe, you were popping the champagne.
You were creating videos already at halftime, ready to go. But then in the second half, all of a sudden you were going, oh, crap, like our bad can really be bad.
Yes.
And we've still got that underbelly for us where players go missing. As a team, we go missing and sides can really get a hold of us.
Giants kicked 11 goals from stoppage against a dominant Blues midfield group. So that was super impressive. I want to start a petition to get Jesse Hogan's hands inspected.
Oh, how good
because
is he?
They are like suction cups. They are just vice-like. He kicked 5 goals, but had 9 marks. It didn't matter how many players were in a pack. He would just pop up a glove and bring it down.
He's great to watch when he's on, Jesse. And when he's getting great supply from his midfield. He is one of those players where, you're right, he'll just clunk it out of nowhere in a pack. I think he was standing in the middle of a pack on the weekend. He didn't even jump.
He didn't jump.
No, it just went straight to him.
That's why I want to start a petition. We need to get those suckers inspected.
It is. It's great to watch. And I love his run up for goal, the little stutter step. But he's an impressive forward when he gets good supply. And the Giants are playing good footy that it can come in quick and fast for him, and he can take those marks. And I just want to touch on, sorry about the tag role we were talking about before and getting tagged. They did a great job on Sammy Walsh on the weekend. He had no impact on that game. Even early in the game when Carlton were winning clearance and winning stoppage and going forward, that they Walshy wasn't really having an impact at all, even when they were going well. And then obviously when Giants picked up their game. So again, another one for a tagger or taggers in the AFL on the weekend that you can really shut down the opposition's best player or most impactful player.
We are just about to wrap up, but Giants played off in a prelim last year. Where are you positioned on Giants? They sit in 8th. They're back in there. But do you still think that they could be a real true contender come finals time?
I still think their best is just as good as anyone. And they prove that their best is just as good as anyone, just like they did on the weekend. Injuries are still hampering a little bit. Kelly's still another 5 or 6 weeks away. When he comes back, that's a big in for him. It's over the last 6 to 7 weeks, you've seen the bad of GWS and just the out of form side. And then all of a sudden, bang on the weekend, where they look like they're down by 40 points and it's the same Giants, they turn it around and play some amazing footy. Where am I at with them? You're unsure. You can't trust where they're at, but you know that their best is still one of the best in the comp. That's where I see it. So they've got Richmond this weekend coming up, I believe, at the MCG. Then they've got Gold Coast at home. So they can really set their season up in the next 2 weeks and get some form back into some key players for them, which they showed on the weekend. But, yeah, at the moment I'm in that not trusting phase of them, but I'm still think their best is their best.
Well done. Good job. What's on for today? Bit of training for you, no doubt?
Yeah, a little bit of training. I've got a sick one at home, so my partner Amy has got the flu, so I've got to go look after her. And, she struck down with that. So a bit of training and a bit of doctor work.
Oh, a little bit of doctor work. Yep. Some chicken noodle soup.
Already had a couple. Living on that at the moment.
Well, that is
what's on for you? No, what's on for you?
Look, lots of house stuff and looking after my cat because I'm a crazy cat lady now. But thank you for listening to Monday's edition of Footy Talk. Of course, recapping all of the action across round 17. Hit us up on socials at Footy Talk Pod. We would love to hear from you. Tomorrow, it is Nick Rewalt and Joey Montagna. We'll see you then.